another episode of Artco Drone Solutions, and welcome to my show, Mitch from Old Guy and a Drone. Welcome, Mitch. I know you're the former singer from Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. Welcome to the show.
You're showing off your age there, Art. Was Mitch Ryder, but back in my day, it was Mitch Miller.
Okay.
Do you remember? Sing along with Mitch Miller. You gotta really be old to remember that. So how you doing?
I am doing great. Did a little bit of fishing earlier today, and so I'm a little tired, but I'm good. I'm good. It's great having this show going right now and having you on, and that is super. So, Mitch, you are from Florida, right?
Well, originally I'm from Philadelphia, but
I see.
I've been living in Florida since 1971.
Right, right. And you started off in RC airplanes, as I
Correct.
okay,
Correct.
and you are you're a pilot. You're an airplane pilot. You have your
I am. Yes, I am. I pilot over here sometimes, and sometimes I pilot over there. But yeah, been flying all my life.
great, great, great. So
How's
you're
my volume, Mark? Can you hear me okay?
yeah, you sound fine. You sound great. Uh,
You're I think your volume might be a little low. See if the guys in the chat can't check that out, because I
all
remember
right.
whenever I watch your live stream last week, we had to get you right up to the mic, remember,
Oh,
in order to
okay.
hear you.
I
And
will.
the guest was just blowing you out of the water. I want to make
All
sure I
right.
don't
How is that?
that's
Is that a little better?
much
I've
much
got
better.
Thomas O'Sullivan. Welcome to shows. Zeb Meat is in the house. Great, great, great. So I've got the microphone almost right up to my nose. So uh,
Yeah,
everybody
Zeb
is
meets said
saying better.
everybody.
That is good. Uh,
Yeah, and you look more like a broadcaster, aren't you?
uh,
I mean, you look much more professional. I mean, I like having that microphone right here.
right.
Except I'm not using this microphone tonight. I'm couldn't get all my fancy stuff working with your vmix
Right,
calling
right.
thing. So now I have no monkey. I have no monkey. I'm
No
lonely. I
monkey
don't have
on your
company
back.
tonight.
Oh, that's
I
good.
don't have any scenery behind me
Uh,
except
well,
green, and it's very
well,
boring. I do have sound effects though.
there you go.
No, I don't even have sound effects because I'm not using my mixer or that
Oh,
mic. I have nothing. I
you
got
have
nothing. So I'll see you
nothing.
later. All right. Yeah. See, it's been fun. Thank everybody for joining us, and see you next week.
So,
Oh man.
you're from Philly,
Yes,
and
I am.
it sounds like you've had your accent removed. You don't sound anything like Michael from Philly.
Yeah, I've been away since 1960, 66 rather. In
Wow.
1966, I was 19 years old, and I went into the army,
Oh,
and never went home to Philadelphia after that. While I was in the army, my folks moved to Florida,
oh,
so I went
good.
home. I went home to Florida. I've been here ever since.
So, did you get shipped over to Vietnam? Where did you serve?
I uh, I enlisted for 4 years
Right.
with in the Army Security Agency, which was a kind of like an offshoot of the NSA. We were snoops.
Okay.
We electronic surveillance and that
Oh,
kind of thing.
okay.
And by giving them 4 years, a guarantee of 4 years of my time, they guaranteed me no Vietnam.
Oh,
So to me, that was an equitable trade-off, and I
sounds like
started
you.
out in my basic training in Fort Dix, New Jersey, which
Right.
was right next door to Philly. And
Yep.
that was cool because during basic training on the weekends, I could go home which is unusual when you're in the Army, but go home for the
Right,
weekend.
right.
And then they sent me for my training, AIT, to Fort Devens, Massachusetts.
Oh,
And I was up there for about 10 months, in electronics school and all that.
right.
Uh, and so that was about 30 miles outside of Boston,
Oh, okay. Interesting,
which
interesting.
wasn't, and it was a beautiful countryside west of Boston,
Right.
outside of a little town called Ayer, 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 Massachusetts, and got to see the beautiful fall colors up there, and it's beautiful countryside, and got to go to Boston all the time, and I ended up dating all the little college girls.
Okay.
So that wasn't bad duty either.
There you go.
And then after that, they sent me to Turkey
Oh, imagine that.
to 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 a field station with one of the largest antenna fields in the world,
Wow.
sitting up on a hill, on the top of a big hill, small mountain, 23 miles outside of Ankara, the capital.
Right.
And we were basically monitoring virtually everything broadcast in the
Right.
Soviet Union from there. And I spent 11 months over there in the middle of nowhere. We had our base, and our base had all the amenities. But if you ventured off base, it was just Middle Eastern countryside,
Yeah.
little villages and goats and guys towing wheelbarrows full of sticks and things like that. And
Right.
it was interesting, but it was boring. And
Right.
I had flown as a kid the U control airplanes where you go around
Yep.
in circles.
I've done
So
that. Yep.
I had my mom send me some U control kits
Yes.
over to Turkey, and the only thing I couldn't get in Turkey was fuel for these things.
Oh, yeah.
So we went down into Ankara, downtown Ankara, and bought some methanol,
Oh,
pharmaceutical methanol,
right.
and mixed up our own fuel. It didn't work that well, but it did work, and
Huh.
actually got to pursue a little bit of the hobby before the radio control over there in Turkey. After Turkey, 11 months in Turkey, they decided to close the base.
Wow.
Uh, and that was interesting because the United States, the Turks had a rule back then, and that was that if you were in the American military, or anything that the American military brought into Turkey,
Right.
they were not allowed to take out of Turkey.
Oh,
So as we were closing the base, anything that we couldn't leave, we had to destroy.
oh,
So
wow.
we had classified electronic equipment that was
Right.
classified equipment itself. We took sledgehammers and bonfires to
Wow.
millions and millions of dollars. That was the bad part. The good part was we had to drink up all the booze in the NCO club
Yeah. Yeah.
because we weren't going to leave it to the Turks. So for the last 2 weeks I was there in Turkey, they had free drinks in the NCO club, and they brought them to you six at a time, Art. Six
Wow.
at a time.
Wow.
And I'm not much of a drinker. I never have been. And for some strange reason, in my young age back then, I was drinking Southern Comfort and 7 Up. The thought of that drink now just makes me gag.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But for 2 weeks before, we were on a bender and a drunk like none other. And I think that's the reason I don't drink today. I
Yeah.
was so sick for 2 weeks,
Oh boy.
and I couldn't drink after I left Turkey. I drank a little wine now and then, no beer, but
Right.
that's it. I can't drink. I don't like to drink anymore. It just brings back the memories of
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
sick for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
I'm
then they
sort
sent
of
me to Germany.
I'm sort of the
I'm sorry.
same way. I went to a wedding last week, and I just had a little bit of champagne, and I felt like crap the next day. And it's called getting old. I'm going to be 60 in January, so
And you're asking me to feel sorry for you?
No.
Oh
So,
man, that, that's what happens to you.
what got you into drones?
Oh, it's just a long, the story of the
No,
sequence of one thing to another. I went from Turkey to Germany,
right,
and this was in 1968,
right,
and this was right when the first proportional radio control systems were coming out, the
right.
first one. Previously to that, they had what they called escapement. I don't know if you've ever seen an old escapement RC, but you had basically an on and off switch, and if you switched it this way, the rudder would flop to this side. If you switch it that way, the rudder would flop to that side. So you'd be switching the switch back and forth. The rudder would be doing this. If you left it in one direction longer than the other, it would turn, and that was RC.
uh,
But then they came up with the fully proportional, and Graupner, a German company, was one of the first ones to come out with one. And I was stationed in Germany, and uh, I saw, went to the local hobby shop and saw this thing and said, "That's for me. I got to get into this." So I bought a Graupner radio control. I never flew RC before, and I bought a glider. They had a big glider made by Graupner, a Cirrus glider. It must have had 12-foot wingspan. And it used a little Cox 09 engine to get it up.
right.
So I built that thing, and there was nobody out there that was doing it. So I took it out to a big field, and never flown RC before, and fired up the engine and
Right.
threw the glider, and grabbed the sticks, and immediately crashed. I had no idea what to do. I mean, how you get tunnel vision,
Right.
I froze up. So fortunately, I didn't do too much damage, and I just kept doing that. Fixing it, crashing it, fixing it. So one day, I actually managed to start flying the thing, and I taught myself to fly RC. And then one day, the glider had it up real high, and the motor had already quit, but that thing would glide like crazy, especially if you had thermals.
Right.
And the radio quit.
Oh boy.
I lost radio, had no control over it, and this thing was just flying big circles.
Wow.
And the wind was blowing about 15 miles an hour away from me. And
Right.
I watched this thing actually climbing because of the thermals, flying
Right.
big circles as
Right.
it flew off into the sunset.
Oh.
And it was gone. And of course, it had all my receiver, and that was expensive stuff back then.
Yeah.
So
That.
I kind of temporarily gave up on it, but I did have my name and my address in the thing.
Oh.
6 months later, some guy shows up with my glider. He found it 40 miles from where I was flying.
Boy.
It had the monocoat. You know what monocoat is? It's that clear mylar type covering. Well, the wings were all balsa wood. It had the monocoat covering on it, and they were just like sacks of soggy, wet balsa wood.
Right.
But the fuselage was pretty much intact. But I did find the radio was gone. It had been out in the weather too much. But I did get it. I did get it back, and I just bought a new radio, and that's how I started in RC and flew RC airplanes all my life. Got into RC helicopters. Got into RC turbine powered jets.
Wow.
And then, and this is all leading up to the drones. And then and I've told this story before, but I'm sorry if boring anybody with it, but
no, not at all.
We decided that I wanted to do aerial photography.
Uh-huh.
So back then they were using RC helicopters with big camera rigs on them, and actually using those in movies to do aerial photography. So I went and bought. I decided I wanted to do it commercially. I bought this big helicopter and a camera thing that went under it that had three-way gyro stabilized, and you bolted a camera to it. You bolted a regular video camera or still camera to it, and it was the helicopter would lift like 20 pounds.
Wow.
And it took two people to operate it, kind of like an Inspire does. You had a pilot for the helicopter and an operator for the camera. And I built that thing that goes over my shoulder and had a video screen and an RC controller down in there to fly the camera.
Wow.
And I picked the best helicopter pilot in our club, who was much better than I was, to actually fly the helicopter. And we tried, and it was, compared to the drones today, it was dangerous, and to actually get good shots required just a lot of work and a lot of talent. And then the FAA at that point struck, and they pretty much came in and said, you guys can't do this. Nobody can. You have to get that helicopter certified as an experimental aircraft, just like if I had built a home-built airplane. Go through all those steps. Then you have to get, anytime you wanted to fly it, you'd have to get clearances and all that.
Oh, boy.
It's not worth it. So I kind of mothballed it, and then I moved over to here and kind of dropped out of the hobby for a while. And, but always having that RC flying, those sticks in my blood, when I started to see the drones, I said, oh, this is for me. And that's when I started flying drones.
Now, when you did the jets, did you do the turbine or the pulse jets?
The turbine engines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've shown
some of the footage. I've shown some of the footage of the turbines on some of my live streams. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're tremendous. Yeah. Yes, but it was very expensive. I don't have the money. I don't have the money now that I had back when I was doing that. So. Nor do I have the big trailer and the big SUV to haul it with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it was quite a hobby. Some of those airplanes, $10,000-$20,000 by the time you get done building them.
Wow.
And no care refresh either.
Yeah. That's right. Once you crash that thing, it's whatever you could salvage to build a new one. That'd be good, but that's about it. I've seen some videos on YouTube where some of those RC jets just disintegrate, and I'm like, oh man, I bet those guys are like, their heart just sunk down to the ground, and I'm like, oh man.
I watch some of those crash things, and I actually only crashed one turbine powered jet, and it wasn't a crash, it was a midair collision.
Oh, boy.
And not only was it a midair collision, but it was a midair collision at the Top Gun Invitational tournament, which I flew in, and it's held down here in Florida, and it's an invitational, and they invite the best. It's a scale tournament.
Right.
So this year it was down in West Palm Beach, and they had it at the Polo Grounds down there.
Right.
Big wide open Polo Grounds. Now, for the past 15 years, it's been held in Lakeland, at the Lakeland Airport in Florida. Right. So you go down there, and you go. It's a 3-day tournament, but you go a couple of days early to practice. Right. So we're down there practicing, and I had a sport jet, which was not a scale airplane, not something that it took a year to build and everything. But I had a sport jet, inexpensive as the jets go.
Right.
Called a Kangaroo, and I was just wanted to fly, A, for the fun, and B, to get the feel of the land. It was my first year down there at Top Gun, so I'm flying this thing, 150 miles an hour, blasting all over the sky, and pretty much staying in the racetrack pattern, because that was what you did.
Right.
When you flew, you had upwind of the runway, you cross, and then you go downwind and base it. And even when you were flying around, you flew in a pattern so you didn't run into anybody. Well, in comes this guy with this humongous World War I scale biplane.
Oh, boy. Okay.
That was it was gorgeous. It was, the guy must have worked on it for years. And he puts that thing up in the air, and my son went down there with me, and he was calling, because you always flew with a caller. You always had a
Right.
guy standing next to you,
Yeah.
calling traffic and telling you what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Because when you're flying one of those things that fast, you don't take your eyes off of that airplane.
Right.
So my son Mike says, some guy just took off with his biplane. He's all over the place.
Yeah.
And no sooner did he say that this guy just turned right in, like this, just turned right in front of me, and I flew right between his wings. He has a biplane. I went right between the wings and hit him, and the explosion of balsa wood and pieces and parts that came out of the sky, it cleaned the wings right off of my airplane, and the fuselage with the motor still running kept going and hit the ground down at the other end of the field. And he was so pissed off at me. He was yelling at me, and I'm trying to say, I was flying the pattern. What were you doing? Right. Well, you guys have no business here with those things. This is, blah, blah, blah. You know, they hated the jets anyway.
Yeah.
The scale guys hated the jets because the scale jets always won.
Right.
They always won. And they won because they looked and sounded more like a real airplane.
Yep.
Than any kind of model you could build with a model airplane, because these things sounded like fighters. So when we put up our scale models that were just decked out,
right,
that was a real friggin' and you know, it was, to this day there's still a furor over, you should handicap the jets, blah, blah. And the judges are supposed to take all that into account, but you know, they're human beings, and they're wowed by these things.
Yeah, I bet.
So they didn't like us anyway, and this guy especially didn't like me when I shot him out of the sky like that.
Oh, man.
We got in the chat here, Art. Take some time to say hi to the guys in the chat.
Yeah, all right, let's, Palladian Scientist, UFO Builder, welcome to the show. And Tony Walker, welcome. Drone Shots. James from Above and Beyond Drones. Bill from Coast to Coast Drones. All right. I've got...
Hi, Bill. I don't know who's still here. We only got 8 people watching. So, Chris Hope, how you doing, Chris?
All right. Chris Hope, hey, welcome to the show. All right. Well, I've got something to say. I've got a little announcement to make.
Go right ahead.
I got my ticket to Spin Up, and so I'm going to need some help from you folks out there. I started a GoFundMe so that I could get to Spin Up, because I live here in Denver, and so I'm raising money for my plane ticket and lodging down there. So I'm going to post the link to my GoFundMe, and so I'm going to copy this, and let's see if I could do this right, and then put that in there, and there you go. Click on that, throw a few bucks in. I am up to 150 bucks, and the goal is 650, so I'm 500 away. And I've got another big announcement. If we could get well above 650, I'm going to give what's left over to an individual that I want him to go to Spin Up. And that person is Bill Thomas from Coast to Coast Drones. I want to help him get to Spin Up. So it would be great if you could chip in. Let's blow this puppy, and let's get him down there, because he lives up in the Seattle area, and it's cheaper for him to go to the Philippines than it does to go down to Austin, Texas. So you know, let's kill two birds with one stone. Go to my that link, chip in a few butts, and let's blow the lid on this. All right, that's all I have to say.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, all right. So you got in the drones.
I thought you were going to take me to spin up here, Art, and then you know what I mean. I thought you were going to take me.
Well,
Hell,
you got a
if I had
plane. You're
if I
pilot.
had,
You can fly yourself
I
there.
don't have a plane anymore. If I had Bill Thomas money, I'd throw mine away. You know. Oh God.
So you got into drones, and now you're expanding. And I haven't had a person like you that's done something extraordinary like FPV. So, unlike I am, I'm just a regular droner. I don't have the little goggles and all that fancy stuff. So, now you're building your own drone, and you got the goggles. And I've seen some of your videos, and they just look awesome. So tell us a little bit about that.
You know, the camera drones, the DJI stuff.
Right.
Me is not really flying. Okay.
Right.
It's not flying. It's more like driving.
Yeah.
If you let go of the sticks and the drone sits there.
Yeah.
If you're flying an RC airplane and you let go of the sticks, the airplane goes poof.
Yeah.
And you can fly it around and you can do all this, but you can't do rolls, you can't do loops, you can't bank it. I suppose in ADI mode you can do a little more, but they took that out of the Mavic 2s, and so to me, I like flying the drones, and I love the technology, and I like taking the pictures, but I was really starting to get bored with it.
Yeah.
And you know, I started this YouTube channel, and you make videos, and I think not only was I getting a little tired of it, I think everybody was just getting tired of me too. So, you know, you do the same thing, and you try to make your videos entertaining, but at any rate, I found that I'm starting to watch these FPV videos, and way back when I was getting into the helicopters with the cameras on them, we had to put video transmitters in the helicopters so that we could see on the screen in front of us what the camera was seeing real time.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
We were doing first-person view, and the cameras and the transmitters were now getting small enough where we actually started to put them into RC airplanes. Now, we weren't wearing goggles, but we had TVs. We had little small screens out there that and we were flying first-person view in these airplanes long before there was such a thing as a quadcopter. They hadn't come along yet. So I had already had that interest in the first-person view stuff, and I even had bought a pair of goggles and managed to plug them into all this. And you know, you look like a mad scientist when you were all wired up with this stuff. I mean, you had wires running everywhere, and you needed someplace to plug it all in because you had a TV. It was really cumbersome, but we got it working. So as I'm watching these FPV videos, I start to get excited. I said, "Oh man, this is flying again."
Cool.
So I said, I got to do this, and I got to warn anybody that gets started, and they call it going to the dark side, and they don't say that for no reason. It really is addictive. And I thought I thought, I'm a big time RC pilot, you
Right.
know, trophy winner. How hard could this be?
Right.
You know what's coming. It's
Yeah.
fly. Now, I found that I could take line of sight.
Right.
I could take this drone and fly it all over the place. No problem. That was like flying an RC airplane.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
I, no
Yeah.
problem. Acro mode, do rolls, do flips, all that stuff. As long as I could see that, it's hard to tell where the front of the thing is. That's the only problem with these
Right.
quadcopters.
Yeah.
When you're flying an airplane, you know where the front is.
Yeah.
You can see the tail sticking
Yeah.
out the back. Even an RC helicopter has a tail.
That's
So
right.
it has something, but these things are just basically square.
Hmm.
And unless you can keep tracking your head of which way this thing's pointing, it's easy to get disoriented real quick,
Yeah.
especially in acro mode where you have no stabilization whatsoever.
Right.
But you can switch them in and out of the different modes when you're flying them. I don't know how much you know about the FPV drones, but you have a switch on your transmitter. You can change modes just like you do on a Mavic. You could go from sports mode to
Addy and
yeah, ADI mode
G-
or
yeah.
irregular mode.
Right.
Well, you can program Betaflight to do it however you want. So the way I set mine up is one switch is what's called angle mode, which basically has the gyro and the drone stays level.
Right.
And if you move the stick sideways, it angles a little bit, but it's not going to roll over. It limits the amount, kind of like
I see.
yeah. And flying in angle mode with an FPV drone is as close to the way a camera drone flies.
Right.
You have to push forward on the stick and hold it forward to get the drone to go forward. If you let
Right.
go of the stick, the drone will just stop.
Right.
Now, it's not going to hold its position like a DJI drone because it's not using GPS and
Yeah.
flow cameras on the bottom and all the other things.
Yeah.
So it'll drift and move around kind of like a drone does in ADI mode.
Hmm.
But at least you can level it. You throw it. The next mode they have is called horizon mode, and horizon mode is still a stabilized mode, but if you move the stick past a certain point, it allows the drone to roll over. So you can fly a stabilized drone and yet still do flips
Oh,
and roll.
cool.
Yeah. Nobody uses that mode because it doesn't feel natural. You move the stick, nothing happens. You move the stick, nothing. All of a sudden, the drone goes floop.
Yeah.
Where if you're flying in what they call the acro mode, that takes the gyro stabilization completely out of the picture,
Right.
and the drone stays where you put it. So when you roll the drone to the left and let go of the stick, the drone, that angle will stay right there
Oh, okay.
until you roll it back again, which is how an airplane works. When
Right.
you're in an airplane, if you've ever flown an airplane, to make a turn, you establish your bank first, which
Cool.
means you roll it, you take the yoke and hold it, and then you center the yoke, but the airplane stays there. And then you pull back on the stick to complete the turn and hold your altitude through the turn. And then when you're done the turn, you move the stick back the other way. And that's how an RC airplane works. You establish your bank, you make your turn, you have to level off consciously. And the same thing is true with drones in the acro mode, which makes it,
Right.
of course, with RC airplanes, when you're flying line of sight, the things turn around, start coming back at you. So what the drones write is now,
Left.
opposite to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's where I benefited from flying RC all those years, because for me there was no thought. It was instinctual to
Right.
fly an RC airplane coming at me. So I thought, hey, this is great. I don't know what the big deal is. I can fly these things. Look, fly them all over the place. Like, let me put the goggles on. Well, that was a whole different thing. And there are times I actually think that since drones fly differently than airplanes,
Right.
um, they fly closer to RC helicopters, but
Right.
still not the same.
Yeah.
I think it's been harder for me to actually learn to fly these things than somebody who's never flown anything.
Right.
because I have to fight what I would do
Ah,
instinctually
right. Yep.
after 50 plus years of flying like that. You know,
Right. Hmm.
it would be like driving a car, and all of a sudden you get in a car, and when you turn the wheel this way, the car goes that way. If you'd never driven, that would be normal for you. But if you've been driving all your life, you you would have it'd be so hard to consciously overcome the instincts.
Hmm.
But I am getting it, and
That's
a lot of practice on the simulator, and a lot of not as much flying as I'd like, but every couple of days I try to get out and fly a little, and I'm
right.
doing better and better and better. I'm not. I still got, you know, as far as being a pilot goes, I on a simulator, I'm Sky King, but you know that's easy when you don't. But when you got your drone up in the air that you built,
Right.
it's a whole different story. That's the flying is great, but the part of the hobby that I really like, and the part of the hobby that I find fascinating, is the uh, uh, the tinkering,
Right.
the building of these things. Yeah, I really like I really like that. Drone worship. What's he talking about? Okay,
Oh,
Art, I
yeah.
will donate $10 to your GoFundMe account if you can tell me what vortex ring state is in the next 3 minutes. And now he says 30 seconds left clock state. Well, here you go, Art. What is vortex ring state?
Yeah, Mike,
And Mike,
I do
Mike,
read.
Mike
I
thinks
go back
he doesn't think
and
it Art
forth.
reads the chat. You know,
I'm getting better at reading the chats.
it's not easy to talk and think about what you're going to say and being on
Right.
and with the chat. I have the same I have the same problem, which is
Hmm.
why when you do a live stream, when you know Ken Hearn doesn't. You think he reads his chat while he's on?
Oh,
No, he
no.
glances at it once in a while, but
Right.
you know people talk to him like he's hanging on every word of that chat, and you can't. So
Yep.
what a lot of people will do is they have sidekick. They have a sidekick, and it's the sidekick's job
Right.
to monitor that chat. And Pusa, for example,
Hmm.
Andrew Pusa Studios, he's got his wife there,
Right.
and she's on that chat. And if anything comes up, she points it out to him, but she's the one that actually answers the chat and does all
Right.
that. So
Hmm.
so Dan, sorry. Anyway, we don't have a lot of people. According to me, everybody's gone away. Art, how many people you show watching? You, me,
uh,
and me and one other person.
well, we're up to 5 people watching.
Oh, I'm
And
showing three for some stupid reason here. It was 10, 12 for a while. Now it
yeah.
says two. Now it says two. So
Oh, boy.
uh, I think there might be a problem with YouTube's count because we have people in the chat. We have a couple people in the chat. Dinner
Yeah.
Bell, Zeb left.
Yep.
Uh, so
Yeah. So,
I think that either I'm boring the hell out of everybody, or you know, another thing you're competing with here, Art, is Spike.
oh, Spike is on tonight? Yeah.
Spike,
And
Spike,
Pusa
he's
Studios is on right
yeah.
now.
Spike has decided to. Oh, now I know this thing is wrong because it says one person watching, and I know that at least you and I are both watching.
Right.
uh, yeah, Spike has decided to do it every Saturday at the same time as you,
Okay, I see.
and and Pusa. It's so tough. It's so tough
Yeah.
these
Hmm.
days
Hmm.
to do these things, and it's a shame. Uh, I don't think you should change your time because
Right.
you've got it established. And the same thing with me. I go on Thursdays at 6 Eastern
Right.
time.
You're on well early before
Yeah,
Ken and
before 10. But I do hit dinner time and everything, and
right.
uh,
Hmm. But
that
you
it
get
is.
quite a few people into your little group where we all just kind of jab. Where I kind of mostly am the little guy in the corner just going, Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No, but listen, we it's great having you there. It's
Yeah, I
great, and
have fun at your show.
everybody
Yeah.
can't talk. Everybody
Uh-huh.
can't talk all at once.
Right.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and if I have Spike on, Spike,
Oh,
he,
yeah.
he,
He goes
he
on and on.
I mean,
But he's great. Everybody
I love
likes
the
Spike.
guy, and he's a draw too. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to have him.
Uh-huh.
When I'm done with you here, I'm probably going to go on. I got an email from Spike with a link for his deal.
Right.
I'll probably drop in and help him out because believe it or not, it's such a competitive night.
Yeah, it
I
is.
think that even Spike with his following, if I remember last week, was running maybe 15, 20 people tops
Wow.
all night long. It's not okay. Here we go.
Are we-
Okay, for $10, how do you recover from vortex ring state with your quad rotor? Dum 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 dum.
Oh,
All right,
boy.
Dan's asking you questions here.
Yeah, I saw that.
I
The
need you to pay
vortex.
attention to that while you're doing your
Yeah, I'll
show.
have to. Okay, let's Google it. How to.
Vortex. I don't know that. I mean, I can't. I'd help you if I could, but how do you recover? That's what happens. See, Dan's a big FPV guy. I'm brand
Right.
new. I'm learning a few tricks, but as I said on my show Thursday night, I said at this point in my FPV career, I don't know what I don't know yet. You know what I mean?
Okay.
No
All
Google.
right. It says here. Okay, if the pilot applies forward cyclic to recover, the tailwind blows the. And now I got.
Helicopters and GPS drones as well as race drones. This information everyone should know if you're flying a drone. Um, that sounds a lot like Dan. That sounds a lot like what happens to guys flying these gyrocopters. If you know, you know what a
Oh yeah.
gyrocopter is. You know, it's got the
Mm-hmm.
freewheeling rotor and the pusher engine, and
Right.
you can get yourself. I've known a couple of guys that have killed themselves in those things because you can get yourself into certain states that's almost impossible to recover from.
Okay.
Especially if you start oscillating and you're done. They're a very dangerous type of airplane to fly.
Vortex ring state. Descent rate is 300 feet per meter. I'm guessing that's what
Per
FPM
minute,
means.
300 feet a minute,
Oh,
probably.
feet per minute. Okay. There. So there you go, Dan. Are you satisfied now?
What did he say? A helicopter would know vortex ring state as settling the power, or a drone pilot would know it as vortex ring state. Falling into your own turbulence there, causing the drone to free fall.
Yep.
Okay. The only way to get out of it is to give your drone a directional path and hope you haven't gained too much speed for recovery. Basically, what do you do? Dive out of it?
Well,
Art
that's
goes Saturday night trivia. Art.
yeah. There you go. I know with my Buds 3, and it doesn't have GPS. I've got the earlier version, and if you go full forward, you got to be high enough off the ground, otherwise you're gonna plow right into the ground.
Well, that's what a drone. That's what a race drone will do. As you remember that as when the drone's flat, 100% of your lift is going straight up. When
Right.
you put the nose down, the proportion of lift up is reduced, and a lot of your lift is pulling you forward. So of course you
Right.
got less upward lift. You're going to. That's true of all airplanes. Anything else that flies,
Hmm.
you're going to have to add power as you put the nose down
Right.
uh, maintain your altitude. And then, of course, the opposite of that is if you keep the power the same and then level off, the drone will start to climb.
Yep.
So as you come back out of that forward run and level off again, you would back off on the power.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the same. That's exactly the same as flying the RC helicopters. You have not only just power, but you have cyclic pitch too.
Yeah, that's right.
Collective pitch. So as you increase the throttle, you're also increasing the collective to increase the lift at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
With quadcopters, you don't have anything. No. You just have motors running faster. A helicopter will generally fly with a constant RPM setting.
Right.
And the collective pitch will be used to increase and decrease lift.
Oh, okay.
Whereas with a quadcopter, it's 100% motor speed that changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what else we got here?
All right. Well,
talked out Thursday night.
So if you want to kind of put yourself in a relaxed state of mind, I have my version of Raz. It's called Art Mataz. Let's enjoy. Oh, that feels good. I feel relaxed already.
That was cool. I can't hear you, Art. Your microphone is off. Say something.
Is that
there you go. What you do? You shut your mic off.
Anyway, I got that from underwater video from when I was down at the ranch last week down in Bristol, Colorado. I had my little gadget that films underwater, and I just saw this and I thought, oh wow, that looks kind of like razzmatazz, and I thought, let's add a little purple to it and some music to it, and call it my own. Call it Art Matazz.
There you go. Well, at least you're not plagiarizing it. You're
right. It's all homemade.
So what else you want to talk about here, Art?
Okay. Oh yes. Editing software. What editing software do you use for your videos?
I use Premiere Pro.
Okay.
Adobe Premiere Pro. Yeah, and I actually still work as a graphic designer.
Oh, nice.
And website designer.
Uh-huh.
And my daughter has a public relations company.
Oh, cool.
In Tampa, and I do all the work for her, all the graphics work and all the flyers and brochures and mailers and websites, and we do work for a lot of government agencies that
right.
Large construction projects, building water plants and sewage plants, and the public relations of letting the public know the status requires a lot of materials, a lot of
right.
a lot of published stuff, and I maintain websites for a number of them. So in that job, I actually have a subscription to the Creative Suite,
Oh, nice.
Adobe, and it's expensive. It's 50 something
I've,
bucks a month,
ooh, wow.
but it gives me access to everything Adobe,
Yeah,
virtually
very,
every program from Illustrator to
ooh,
InDesign to Photoshop to Premiere to everything. And so that's why if I had to go out and buy it
oh,
just
yeah,
for editing YouTube videos, I would probably use something like Vegas Video or one of the lesser expensive, because
right.
I'm a PC guy. I'm not a Mac guy.
Yeah,
Uh,
same here.
yeah, and
I'm using Fillmore, and
I haven't. They're all pretty much the same,
right,
And I don't use. I have After Effects, and that stuff is so complicated, and I mean, you need a college education in just that if
uh,
you're going to use all of those tools.
right.
Um, yeah, Drone Shot says just hack it. Hey, what do you think I did before I actually ended up buying the whole thing? And I had to buy the thing because my daughter was using it for commercial purposes. But you can go on one of the torrent sites, one of the pirate sites, and you can
Right,
download hack versions of any of the Adobe software, and they have different edits you make to some of the DLL files that get you around the authorization from Adobe, and they do work. And for years and years, I used that stuff, but now I'm walking a straight and narrow, paying paying for what I'm using.
right.
The only problem with that is every 5 minutes, like DJI, there you got there's an upgrade, and
Yeah,
then you wonder if that upgrade isn't going to screw up your entire thing, or is actually
right.
going to help a little. Yeah, but no, it's good software. It's way more capable than what I need. And lately, what I've been doing, interestingly enough, Art, on these videos where I'm talking about the FPVs and actually building drones and things, I'm not using an editor. I might use the editor at the end to just splice together a couple things, but I'm using OBS,
Right,
okay, and recording it like a live show almost.
right,
So I can switch the scene to the build table and put myself down in the corner, or
right.
I can then switch off to a video playing on another monitor and actually create the actual video live as I'm doing it,
Ah,
and then go into Premiere Pro, dump the whole file in,
right.
and just cut out the dead space or the stuff that I don't want.
There you
You
go.
know, and I can. It takes 5 minutes that way to and adjust the volume levels and things like that. So it's a quick way to do that. The resolution is not 4K or anything, but it's high enough
Right,
resolution uh, for YouTube. It's fine. It works good.
right. We got Brent Ariels in the house
Oh, hey Gary, how
and
you
Brent
doing, Mr.
Huntley.
Carlson and Mr. Weiss? God, I don't normally hear my last name thrown around here.
I was wondering what
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
your
Jeff
last
Sills is
name
in.
was, Mr. Weiss. Okay, cool.
Hiya, Jeff. Jeff is here.
Oh, Jeff. Hey, welcome to the show,
Yeah,
Jeff. Jeff was awesome on where was he? Uh, other than Ken's show, he was on Greg's show. I think it was it last night or last week?
I missed.
Uh,
I missed that. I missed that.
yeah.
Last
Uh,
time, last time I saw Jeff was Thursday night when he
right.
was contemplating different ways to kill Ken uh, over
Yeah.
the bird is the word.
Right.
you
Well,
know,
I think Ken's gonna start playing Kenny, and it's like all day today. I kept humming that tune, and it's like, man, that's like an earworm now. It's like, Greg, you've created a monster with that song, and I think Ken is probably gonna start playing that to death. When
no, that when I watch him doing that, and I see Jeff's reaction to it, I think about how to deal with a bully, and it's as hard as it is. If you got to act like it doesn't bother you at all,
right,
and if you think it bothered you, he'd stop doing it. So
Right.
next time, Jeff, if you're listening, keep saying the word bird. Just keep giving it to him. Give it to pretty soon he'll just get tired of it. Hey Ken, have you heard about the bird? You might even flash him a bird while you do that, you
Yeah.
know?
All he has to do is show him his. Here's the heron drone. Hey, look, it's got a bird on it.
Yeah. But it's a funny bit,
Yeah.
Jeff. Like fire with fire. Yeah, Jeff, you got to find something that bothers him, and but it's a great bit though. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
it's an entertaining bit
Hmm.
too, and
Well, Jeff
you
is
know.
the straight man, and Ken is like the, the Jerry Lewis of the show.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and if anybody else tried to uh, mimic or be like Ken, it
Right.
wouldn't work
No.
because he's entertaining because of his personality, and you
Yep.
can't. It's not something you can act or put on.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's who you have to be, and
Well, he's had
yeah.
many, many years in the radio business. You know, uh, uh, honing that persona of his.
But he's
And
in trouble now. He's in trouble. He's got the FPV bug,
oh yeah, that's right. I've seen some of his videos,
and
and
yeah, he's got the bug. You could see it. You could hear it. You could hear it in his voice,
yep,
and it is addictive. Uh, I was see this little tiny little thing here.
yep,
I was talking about this on Thursday night. You remember when I was talking about this and I said that the motors vibrated so bad that I couldn't fly it and everything? It was that cheap $79 drone,
right,
and the motor. I had to change the camera. I showed the video of it. It was all wavery and
right.
jello-y. It was terrible. So what I did this afternoon is I put new motors. I put new motors on
Ah,
it. This is a brand
nice.
new motor
Uh
there,
huh.
and uh, I got it all together. It's raining. I haven't had a chance to fly it, but
Right.
I did, of course, test it and make sure the motors were running in the same direction. And the difference is night and day.
Right.
You can't even feel. You can't even. You hold it in your hand when you run the motors without the props, of course. You
Right.
can't even feel it. I don't know what the hell was wrong with the motors that it had. So tomorrow morning, all weather's nice. I'm taking this thing out. And
There you
I'm going.
go. Now is that an armatan?
No. The Armaton is the Marmot.
Okay.
This is an Eachine.
Oh, Ishin. Yeah. Okay.
Eachine Tyro 79. It's a little 3-inch quad,
Uh huh.
and it costs $79, and it comes with everything.
Yeah.
But I've replaced. But the camera was junk, and the motors were junk.
Mm.
So I put a $35 camera and $60 worth of motors. So now I've added $90, $95 worth of parts to my $79 drone, and now I'm up to $170. So
Well, I had a
70 bucks,
chance.
I probably could have bought a whole good drone,
There you
3-inch
go.
drone. So,
I
but
got
I had a lot of fun.
I had a
I'm sorry.
chance to buy an Armatan drone on propertyroom.com a couple of weeks ago, and it sold for something like $53, but the shipping is like $12. And I thought, I don't know.
Well, the Armaton that I built was basically the Armaton Marmot is just a frame.
Right.
Okay.
Well, this
And
had everything. It had the
right,
motors,
but
it had the
you don't
camera,
know what
and the
that's the
battery.
problem. You don't
Well,
know
it had
what,
one broken prop, and that's about it.
but you don't know whether the motors are any good. It's like buying a used car.
That's
Whether the
true.
ESCs are any good, you just don't know. Now there probably might have been something in there worth $50, some of the parts, but more
Hmm.
than likely, uh, it would have been if you had been an FPV builder for a
Right.
while and knew a lot about it. Then it would have probably been a better buy for you. But to
Right.
buy it as something that you wanted to just try to fly,
Right.
probably I wouldn't recommend it. But you never
Well,
know. Might have been the buy of the century.
I bought DJI drones from there. I bought my Phantom 3 Standard, my first DJI drone, and now I've got a Phantom 3 Advance, and that's where I got that from. But it didn't come with the remote. I had to go on eBay to get the remote for it, and you know, for a couple $100, I got a pretty nice drone there. So, but
Yeah, well,
speaking of drones, and if any of you have a broken drone or a drone you don't want, you could send it to this address: Art Carlson, 5557 West 79th Avenue, Apartment 3, Arvada, Colorado, 80003. Also, I like chocolates too, so anybody want to send chocolates, you could send it to that address. Uh, I'm not particular, so any kind of chocolate, even chocolate from Europe, is good. So that's where to send it to. And we're
uh,
back.
that's funny. That's funny, Art.
I am a chocoholic, and one of my friends, well, his family is in the candy business, Enstrom chocolates or Enstrom candies, and he's the guy that has the ranch that I went to last week. So,
Well,
and
very good.
mm-hmm,
Well, we made it through an hour, Art.
yes, and let's see how we're doing back here. Jeff is still hanging with us. That's cool.
Yeah, we got a couple people in here.
Yeah, we're not doing bad, and the stream health is still green, which that's good.
So you don't ever use Hangouts.
No, everything is through vMix.
Yeah.
So
I tell you, I notice when I look at myself, in the feed that you're sending in front of me, I see you, me, not what's going on over YouTube, which is coming in about 10 seconds behind,
right,
but I see it there's still about a second delay in
right,
between the picture I see me up in the corner and what I see coming back. That's being processed by your vMix.
right. Mm-hmm.
So I can't watch my mouth on there because I get tongue tied. I get triple. Uh, well,
Yeah. Well, thanks
well,
for coming
wrap
on.
it up and
Thanks
call it.
for
I don't want to cut you short, but I know you generally do an hour.
yeah. Sometimes we go a little long, which is unlike Ken, where he was on for 3 hours Thursday, and I'm like,
Was it really?
oh, oh boy,
I
I gotta
watched a
go to
little
bed,
of it.
Ken. Hurry up, Ken. But
I watched a
I
little of it
watched the
after.
whole thing.
Did you? Wow.
Yeah, I'm a religious watcher of his show because I find him so entertaining, and the guests that he brings on are interesting, and he makes the show fun. And I hope I could do that with this channel. And I mean, this is show number 25, so it's not 100 like Ken's, but
Yeah.
we're getting
No,
there.
you're doing. Look, you're doing good. I remember when I first heard about you from Bill,
Right?
and uh, you're coming up there. You and I are uh, not the same number of subscribers, so we're growing.
Yeah. I'm at 680 right now, and
Good.
it's steady climb. Around 80, 100 subs a month, and I'm getting
I don't
close to
think
that 1,000.
I don't think either one of us is going to get rich as a YouTube star.
Ah, nope. No, that
That's
takes
fun.
that takes a lot of perseverance, and who knows what'll happen in a few years. And I plan to retire to the Philippines, and then who knows what'll happen with this channel. I might combine everything down into one channel. Arts Philippine Adventure or something like that.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
could do drones and travel around the country, and but there are a lot of other YouTubers that do that. But I do it from a unique perspective.
Yes, you do. Well,
Hmm.
listen, I want to thank you for inviting me.
All right. Well.
And you're on my list, so no obligation. But anytime on Thursday, when I send the links out, I send them out. You're always welcome,
Awesome.
always welcome to pop in and keep in touch. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, and ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week with more great guests such as Mitch, and see you all next week. Bye bye.
Bye.
And we gotta restart. There. And.